So hi, everyone. My name is Erin. I am the Student Recruitment Officer for UBC Engineering at the Vancouver campus. I do want to start today by acknowledging that the Vancouver campus is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. I'd like to take the time to acknowledge the land that all of you are joining us from and the traditional caretakers of that land. So thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to this live Q&A session where we're going to be talking about how to find your community during your first year at UBC. So we're going to focus a little bit on some clubs or teams that you can join, some of the amazing opportunities available to you to help you meet new people, and we'll be getting started with some of the questions that you have submitted in advance when you registered for this session. But you are all welcome to use the chat to ask any other questions that you have today. So we'll be going over to the chat as soon as those questions start coming in. So I'm also joined by a current student with me today. So Stephanie, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm currently a fourth-year electrical engineering student, and I went to high school in Vancouver.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephanie. And then I think Mayank is here to join us. So let me just make Mayank a co-host. And you should be able to unmute yourself now, and you can introduce yourself as well. Perfect.
Hey, I'm Mayank. Sorry about joining late. I lost track of time while studying. But yeah, I use pronouns he and him. I'm a third-year integrated engineering student. Very excited to be here. And I'm from India. A fun fact about me is I started off with not being involved in the community, and then within a year, I became an executive of the Undergraduate Society for Engineering.
Perfect. And now very involved. So I feel like the tables turned for you on that one. So thank you both of you for being here today to share your experiences with our incoming students. And thank you to all of our incoming students today for being here to learn more. So one of the kind of like first ways to meet new people and get involved is Jumpstart, which is a week-long orientation program that happens the week before classes, and then Imagine Day, which happens on the first day of classes. So I want to ask if either of you found either of those events helpful to make your transition to UBC less stressful. So Stephanie, I'll get you to go first.
Thanks. Yeah. So personally, I didn't do Jumpstart, but I did, or I attended Imagine Day. And I thought it was a really helpful resource for me since we got to like meet a professor. There was kind of like an orientation, like a pep rally, and also an opportunity to meet other students. I met one of the people that I became really close friends with in first year on Imagine Day. And there was also like a main event where we were able to like talk to clubs and learn more about different opportunities on campus. So overall, it was a really great I think way to just get started and learn more about the UBC community.
All right. And Mayank, anything to add to that?
So I did do Jumpstart, but mine was the online one. So I was on a Zoom call for a week. It was a little weird, but I met a lot of people. I remember so in Jumpstart you have a prof that's assigned to every group, and this prof that was assigned to our group was a civil engineering one. And I remember coming to campus, not having spoken to the prof in over a year, and I see him on Main Mall and he remembers my name. That I can't get over that feeling. That was so good. Like someone remembers your name after having only seen you for a week on video, halfway across the world. That was amazing. So imagine that in person and with like your friends, you really make great connections. And I can't stress how nice it feels to be in a community where you can feel belonged and just find some great people to hang out with the entire year and multiple years.
Awesome. Thanks both. So yeah, those are great opportunities to kind of get involved right from the start. You don't need to do anything. You do need to sign up for Jumpstart if Jumpstart is something that you'd like to attend. All students are expected to attend Imagine Day. And as long as you just go along with it, you will find tons of different ways to get involved. You'll meet so many different people, friends from your faculty. You'll meet people from other faculties. You'll meet profs. And it's really just such a great atmosphere to be a part of. So thank you both for highlighting those experiences. So again, a reminder to anyone just joining us, if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask either of the students here today, please feel free to use the chat and add in your question. The next question I have is for Mayank. So UBC has a lot of really great opportunities for students to get connected with other students and especially fellow engineers, whether that's something like Jumpstart, like you mentioned, whether that's joining undergraduate societies like the Engineering Undergraduate Society, maybe joining clubs or design teams. Mayank, could you share your experiences with getting involved in the UBC engineering community?
For sure, yeah. So there are so many things to get involved with here on campus. You can join clubs, you can join design teams where you're working on technical projects outside of school. You can do something that you're really interested in, like a jazz club, or you can join the Engineering Undergraduate Society where you're throwing social events, you're throwing professional events for students, you're connecting with industry, you're connecting with the dean's office on different things and just helping make that student experience better on campus socially. So there's a ton of things that you can do. There's also frats and sororities that you can join. Just any group of people that you're interested in hanging out with, you'll find someone there. So it's really what you want to make out of it. And I've been on clubs, I've been on 2 design teams. I am an executive of the undergraduate Engineering Undergraduate Society right now. And each of those experiences have been so rewarding for me. You meet so many people and eventually you'll figure out what exactly you want to spend most of your time doing. For me, it's being involved with the Undergraduate Society. And so I've started moving away from other commitments. But I know people that have spent copious amounts of time on design teams and on clubs and are just doing so many things and making that experience whole and unique for themselves. So it's what you want to make out of it.
What do you think your favorite part of being part of the EUS has been?
Ooh, this is a tough one. I'm going to say you get to do everything that you're doing affects so many more students than you think it does. And you don't realize it until someone comes up to you and is like, oh, hey, you're this person, right? And I'm like, how could you know that? Like, I have never spoken to you. I don't know who you are. And how could you know who I am and what I'm doing? Like, it's amazing. You're able to impact so many people.
Awesome. Yes. Oh, sorry. My computer just twisted a little. Yeah, that's such a great kind of thing to mention. And I will mention for those of you that are not that familiar with the EUS, they basically are the ones that kind of like ensure that the student experience is as good as it is. So for all of our engineering students, the EUS hosts free tutoring sessions for first-year students. They host, Mayank mentioned there's like industry nights, so where you get to connect with people that are actually in engineering industry and can kind of work with that. There's a big career fair that they host every year to bring in all of these people looking to hire our students. So the US is a really amazing thing to be a part of. And even if you're not going to be an executive or anything like that, there's still lots of events that they host that you can simply show up to and just kind of find a lot of community that way. All right, so Stephanie, I know that you've been involved in clubs, design teams, research, all sorts of things. For those of you that haven't checked out our Engineering Stories channel, Stephanie has a few videos from a few years ago talking about her experience in all of those things. But maybe you can highlight what some of those experiences have been like for you and some of the people that maybe you've met through those experiences throughout your degree.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess 2 of the things that I've been involved with quite a bit over the past few years are first UBC Women in Engineering. So we're a club that focuses on organizing community building and professional development kind of events for women and gender diverse folks in engineering. And it's been a really great community to be part of. I joined in my first year and it was a really great support network to meet other women in engineering. And it was also a great opportunity to meet people in other programs and in upper years. And that was really helpful for kind of deciding what kind of specializations I was interested in. And another design team I've been part of is BEST, which is the UBC Biomedical Engineering student team. And that's been a really cool experience as well, getting to work on technical projects with other people who have similar interests. I think it's really rewarding to get to work on a project like from start to end and have a big role in defining what the project looks like, which is a great part of being part of a design team. And yeah, again, it's been really great to meet people like from classes and getting to work more with them outside of class.
Awesome. So Stephanie, I got a question in the chat that says, what do you need to join a club or different parts of the community of the undergraduate program? So maybe you can speak a little bit too, if someone was looking to join a design team or to join a club like Women in Engineering, what should they be looking out for? What sort of did you have to go through in terms of the process of joining?
For sure, yeah. So I guess in terms of like clubs and design teams in general, a lot of them at the beginning of the year will be at like Imagine Day and boothing, and we'll also like release information if they are like looking for new members. For clubs, at least with Women in Engineering, we're a pretty open group, and we kind of like welcome everyone who is interested in getting involved to like contribute to organizing events or attend events. At least from my experience with like joining BEST, the biomedical engineering student team, they had like a short application process where we had to like write a bit about our interests and like go through an interview. And I found that some other design teams also have a similar process.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I think that you mentioned Imagine Day is really one of the best places to go through. On Imagine Day, all of the clubs and teams are going to be lined up down Main Mall, which is kind of like our main walkway on campus. And you can go from club to club or design team to design team and just ask, what is your team all about? What does your club do? How do I get involved? How do I join? And they'll give you all of that information. A lot of them will be like, sign up, put your email here. We'll send you a bunch of information. A lot of them have like information sessions that you can go to find out even more. And then, yeah, for some design teams and things like that, there may be more of like an application process. Lots of first year students are able to join design teams though. So it's not something that you should be like worried about. You can apply to multiple design teams to see kind of like, ones that are interesting to you, to see where there may be spaces and stuff. And then for clubs, a lot of clubs are super open. We have a lot of clubs within engineering itself, but then there's also over 400 campus-wide clubs that you can join. So there's a club for everyone, something like, there's like dance clubs, there's language clubs, there's all sorts of different things. So we see another question in the chat of what are some examples of design teams, so like robotics. So Stephanie just mentioned about the biomedical engineering student team, which does a lot of biomedical engineering focused stuff. Mayank, do you want to talk a little bit more about some of the teams that you may have been a part of, about what those design teams are like? And I'll pull up the link so that you can see all of the teams.
Oh, I was just about to send the link.
Okay, if you have it, you can send it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on 2 aerospace teams. I've been on UBC Mars Colony and UBC Rocket. Really good experiences on both of them, and they really get you to think about how you want to get involved in the aerospace industry. I'm a huge space nerd, so being a part of that team and being around people that do not mind talking about rocket launches and like random space things that keep happening like for hours and without getting tired, it's a good feeling. So it's really nice to pick projects. So on Mars Colony, when I had joined, a little after I joined, we started looking into what projects we want to do, and every member got to pitch an idea or present something that they think would be a good direction for the team to take. And that's a great way to, see what it's like to be part of a startup, because a lot of design teams work like startups where you have a group of people and you have that skill set, and anything that you want to do is using that and reaching out to more people if you want anything. So it's really nice and gets you to think about if that's the direction you want to take your career in. Gives you a real hands-on experience on machining, on designing things in engineering, in project management, and it's a whole different world out there. So whatever you're looking for, there'll be some design team, some sub team in that team that will have what you're looking for.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, all sorts of different types of design teams. We have over 30 design teams. We have the most design teams out of any school in Canada. So that's pretty exciting. There's lots of things to get involved in. Some teams do a little bit more like research focused. So BEST, I would say, is a little bit more research focused, whereas some teams like UBC Rocket, for example, does a lot of competition focused events. So they're actually traveling internationally to compete against other top institutions from throughout the US and around the world. So depending on what you're looking for, there's lots of different options in there as well. A question came in, is it possible to start your own club, and what's the requirements? Is there any restrictions? So definitely if you do want to start your own club, you can. It depends on what you're looking for. I know that we are kind of at a little bit of a limit for design teams right now, but there's lots of design teams that have lots of various sub teams. So they keep growing in that way. But that would definitely be something to talk to a design team that's related to what you're interested in. And then you may be able to help create a new sub team on that design team. In terms of clubs itself, for UBC sanctioned clubs, you can get together with other students to basically, you need to have enough students to facilitate a club. There is a number, I'm not 100% sure what that limit or that number is. I want to say it's 10 students have to kind of be a part of it, but somewhere around there. And then basically you can get together and go through the process to officially start that club, which depending on what type of club it is, either the EUS may be able to kind of provide some guidance, or it would be through the what's called the Alma Mater Society, or the AMS, which is kind of the UBC-wide student government. So definitely possible. Like I said, we have over 400 clubs on campus. So chances are there's probably a club that's related to what you're interested in, but definitely something that you can start if you're interested. So the next question is, if I were to join manufacturing engineering, what do you think the classwork would be like? So this one is a little bit more about the actual coursework itself. We're going to focus on kind of being involved in things in clubs and that sort of stuff today. But Zachary, if you have more questions, we do have our chat with a student feature. So I will link to that you can ask about students, and you can find, I think we have a manufacturing student in there as well. And you can also find a little bit more on our manufacturing website. So let me add a few links for that, but we're not going to get too much into the programs themselves today. We are going to focus more on joining clubs and things like that. But definitely I'm also able to help you afterwards as well. So the next question that I do have though is, can you join arts clubs with a focus on engineering? So I'm not sure exactly what that question means, but definitely you can join any sort of club at UBC. A lot of clubs don't have restrictions in terms of like which faculty you're a part of. Even a lot of our design teams have students from other faculties that are part of those design teams. So we'll have business students, we may have kinesiology students, we have science students that are part of those teams. Engineering, as you know, is really working together on a team with people from interdisciplinary backgrounds. And that's something that I think you see across all of our design teams. And then also in clubs, they're very open to any sort of any student from most faculties usually. So definitely something to check out the club that you're most interested in. We do have engineering focused clubs, like I mentioned, so women in engineering. We have some other kind of equity, diversity, and inclusion focused clubs. So there's Accept for Chinese students. There is .CASIS for Indigenous students. So there's several different types of clubs that you can join if you're from a marginalized background. So lots of options for that. Another question about, do clubs have certain requirements for getting admitted, like background knowledge and things like that? So we kind of touched on that a little bit. Stephanie, when you first joined a design team, did you have any specific background knowledge that you needed to share, or were you kind of just able to get into kind of a lower position and learn about the team when you were in it?
Yeah, so when I joined a design team in first year, I didn't have any background experience. With BEST, they specifically had like a mentorship program for first years. So we had like, they set up like some workshops where we were able to learn some technical skills, and kind of going into it, they knew that we didn't have any background knowledge. So yeah, it definitely wasn't a requirement, at least when I joined.
Perfect. And I think that's the case for most teams, especially as a first year student. They're not going to expect you to kind of know everything or how to do everything. But that's a great thing to ask when you're going through on Imagine Day. You don't need to necessarily prepare for that in advance. All right, I am going to add in that link to our chat with the student feature. So both Stephanie and Mayank are part of this program, so you can chat with a UBC Engineering ambassador. And so you can scroll through, you can find someone that's in the program that you're interested in, that's maybe part of a design team that you're interested in, that has other experiences that you're interested in. So you can check out all of our UBC Engineering ambassadors. We do have students from both campuses on there. And then you can start a chat with them and you can ask them any questions that you may have about the student experience. They won't be able to answer any sort of questions about like academic advising or anything like that, but they can definitely talk about student experience, ways that they've gotten involved, and anything about kind of their experiences, maybe moving to Canada or anything like that that you'd like to know more about. Another question came in to say kind of what's the average workload like for a design club? Is it time consuming? How do you manage your time? So maybe Mayank, if you want to talk a little bit about some of the extracurriculars that you've been involved in, how do you manage that course load with that additional workload? What did you do to kind of manage all of those pieces?
Yeah, so on average, the design teams ask you to spend about one day on the weekend, dedicating like from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. To work on projects there. You can that's the usual amount of time that people spend, but there are also some teams that are flexible with the kind of work that you do. Sometimes you may end up doing work more in the middle of the week instead of on the weekends. Sometimes you may spend like 12 plus hours on one day, or just people go to design teams to sometimes procrastinate doing schoolwork because that's more interesting to them. Really depends on the type of team and the type of project. However, when it comes to managing time, there are a bunch of ways you can do that. Like I try to keep my I try to squeeze in my schoolwork and any assignments that I have in any empty spaces that I have throughout the week. So I don't like to sit and okay, this is my assignment time, I'm only going to do assignments. No, I don't like to do that. I sit, and if I have some time, I'll just try to finish how much ever I can, and I get back to it. So you'll figure out what strategy works best for you over time, and it is a bit of a learning curve, understanding how to manage your time, and it'll hit you. Okay, you have so many things going on, but people are doing it. And that said, you don't have to join a design team. It is an added time commitment, and it's not something that every student does. It's just a popular thing. You can join some lower commitment things that you can get involved in lower commitment in lower commitment ways. You can be involved as a representative for a bunch of different services that the EUS provides. You can just kind of hang out and help around with events, which is a big thing. We have so many people that we're so thankful for that do that. So it really depends on how much time you have, and definitely don't overcommit. Gradually take on things. So yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. And I think even if you came to UBC Engineering and you didn't get involved in anything outside of classes, you're still going to find a way to connect with other students and to meet other students. So in your first year classes, you have a course called AppSci 100 and AppSci 101, and you're going to be in a team project in both of those courses, and you're in that team throughout the whole term. So that's just one way that you can kind of connect with other students. Lots of students form study groups and you can make friends that way. So there's still lots of ways that even if you're not going out and getting involved in clubs or teams or anything like that, if you're living in residence, for example, if you're getting involved in like sort of a one-off event. So there's lots of events on campus, like we had Storm the Wall a few weeks ago, where it's kind of like you have to do all this. It's kind of like a triathlon sort of event. And then at the end of it, you have to climb over, I think it's like a 12-foot wall or something like that. So That's one event where you can join a team of other people to do something, and that's kind of just one day of an event. You might want to train for that a little bit, but it's really just kind of like a smaller commitment. We have Day of the Longboat that runs in the fall, and so that's a team of people on a longboat doing a course race kind of thing. So again, that's a one-day commitment that you're sort of part of that you can get involved in. So I think like what's really important to consider is that you don't need to be doing all of these sorts of things. You don't need to be on all of the teams. You don't need to be in all of the clubs. It's simply the community. Part of what the EUS helps foster in engineering, and part of the community, and what I always hear from students, is just that simply being in UBC Engineering will really provide you with a lot of community of just meeting other students. Everyone's there to support each other. Everyone's trying to do well in first year, but it's not that competitive, like cutthroat kind of atmosphere that some students think it may be. It's really like everyone is supporting each other. They're there together to help each other through first year. So Mayank, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, I actually did. So every engineering program at UBC has a club room or like a space for themselves. First years have a club room of themselves. It's in the Engineering Student Center, which is where I am right now. And this is a room exclusively for first years. You can come hang out, you can leave your stuff, you can just spend how much overtime you want. You can crash that overnight, doesn't matter. Nobody's going to say anything to you. People have done that. It's a great place to just like see new faces and hang out and just make new friends. So yeah,
Excellent.
definitely
Yeah.
recommend that.
Perfect. All right, so we are all out of time. So to wrap up today, I always like to ask what piece of advice you would have given yourself if you were talking to your grade 12 self. So thinking all the way back to when you were in grade 12, thinking about if you were going to come to UBC Engineering, if you were going to do engineering altogether, even maybe, what sort of advice would you at this point in time give your grade 12 self? Stephanie, I'll have you go first.
Yeah, so I think in the process of kind of transitioning from high school to university, I was kind of unsure like what I was interested in and what I wanted to do and join. And there were like a lot of opportunities like starting university. So I think I would tell myself to like not worry too much about like picking the like right or wrong thing, since there isn't really a right answer, and that like things will work out okay in the end.
Awesome. And Mayank?
Yeah, kind of going along the lines of what Stephanie said. Nobody really knows what they're doing. I'm in my third year. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of going along just going with the flow. But I do know that getting involved has gotten me a lot of learning opportunities, and just meeting new people has been so rewarding. Just show up to different things. Like if you see an event flyer and are like, oh, will I have fun here? Just show up, doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, you'll get free food. There's a lot of free food at our events. So worst case scenario, that's the case. You're not going hungry. Best case scenario, you meet some amazing people that might potentially get you an internship someday. So just show up to different things. You don't have to talk to anybody. People will see you around and then come up to you and be like, okay, I've seen you around a lot. What's your name? And you'll start conversations.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for taking time out of your busy final schedule. I really appreciate you both being here to share your experiences with everyone. For anyone here, if you do still have more questions for either Mayank or Stephanie or anyone else on the UBC Engineering Ambassador team, please feel free to click that link to start a conversation with them. You can ask them questions. They'll get back to you within a day or two to kind of answer any questions that you have about that student experience. But hopefully this gave you some insight. Hopefully what you take away is that no matter what you do, you'll be able to find your community and the community that suits you at UBC Engineering when you get here in the fall. So I hope this session was able to help you answer any of those questions. And I hope to see all of you on campus this fall. Thanks so much for joining. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to use the chat with an ambassador feature, or you're always welcome to send me an email. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.